Kamsi, my dear, my sister, we are all married, every single one of us. And you are standing here at my wedding in Ankara print. At what point, Kamsi, at what point? You know what? I feel for you, I genuinely do. We were all in the same position, same school, same graduation, same town. We moved. You are still here, waiting. For what exactly? Kamsi, I love you. You know I love you. My husband bought me a car for our introduction and saying you are not in a hurry.
I am happy for all of you. I genuinely, truly am.
They mocked her for being single. They laughed at her dress, her bag, her prescience. They called her slow. What happened next silenced everyone. 4 women, 1 town, 4 very different answers to the same question. How long are you willing to wait for a life that is truly yours? The road back to Uguta always smelled the same. Red dust, palm oil from the market women's trays, and the particular kind of wood smoke that came from kitchens that had been cooking since before sunrise. It was the smell of a town that did not wait for anyone, that had been living and breathing and forming opinions long before you left, and would continue to do so long after you were gone. Kamsi pressed her face briefly toward the bus window as they descended the final hill into town, watching the zinc rooftops catch the afternoon light. Beside her, Ifunanya was already on her phone, typing rapidly, her long acrylic nails clicking against the screen with a rhythm that had not stopped since Lagos. Across the narrow aisle, Ada slept with her mouth slightly open, her new graduation headscarf twisted sideways. Chioma sat at the front of the bus, already applying powder to her face in preparation for arrival, as though Uguta itself were an audience she intended to impress. 4 girls, 4 degrees, 1 town waiting to receive them. The bus groaned to a stop at Uguta Junction, and the noise began immediately. Mothers calling names, touts dragging luggage, motorbikes splitting the crowd with reckless confidence. But underneath all of it, Kamsi could feel something else. A pressure, thin and invisible, like the air before a storm. She had felt it the moment she told people she was coming home without a job offer. She had felt it in her aunt's voice on the phone last week. So what are you doing now? What is the plan? Not congratulations first, not welcome home, the plan. She picked up her bag and stepped into the dust. Okafor Street had not changed in 4 years, which was both comforting and unsettling. The same buka on the corner where Mama Eze sold Ofe Unugu and Judgment in equal portions. The same cracked gutter that had been promised repair by 3 different councillors. The same row of uncompleted buildings that stood like unfinished sentences, waiting for money that had not arrived. And the people, always the people, sitting in front of their compounds in the cooling evening, watching the world move past with the focused attention of those who had nowhere pressing to be and nothing urgent to miss. Within 48 hours of her return, Kamsi was asked the same 4 questions so many times she began to count them silently. When did you arrive? What did you study? Have you found work? When are you getting married? The last question always arrived quickly. It did not wait for the others to finish settling. It appeared sometimes before the congratulations, nestled between one sentence and the next, as though it was actually the point of the conversation, and everything before it was simply courtesy. She answered patiently. She smiled. She said, 1 step at a time. The women of Okafor Street did not find this satisfying. It was Chioma who first said it plainly, the way Chioma always said things, without softening, without apology, as though the truth were simply a piece of furniture she was rearranging. They were in Ada's room, the 4 of them arranged across the bed and floor the way they had been since secondary school. Ifunanya stretched across the full length of the mattress, Ada sitting cross-legged against the headboard, Chioma on the plastic chair she had dragged in from the parlor, Kamsi on the floor with her back against the wardrobe. It felt exactly like it used to, except that it didn't.
I'm not going to wait for a job to save me. A good man is the plan. That's the truth and nobody wants to say it out loud. Honestly, I agree. I'm tired of the idea of struggling. If a man can provide a stable home and I have peace, what exactly am I proving by staying single and suffering? You people are talking about peace and provision. I want life. I want to travel. I want fine things. I want a man who shows me off because he's proud of what he has. Exactly. Love is sweet, but love inside a fine house is sweeter. And love with no stress is the sweetest of all.
Kamsi listened.
She had learned over the years that listening was not the same as agreement, and that silence was not the same as having nothing to say.
Kamsi, you're too quiet. Say something. What do you think?
I think we just got home.
The room paused.
See this girl. You think time is waiting for you? You think these men will be standing at the corner like taxis, available whenever you decide you're ready?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying there's a difference between choosing something and running to it because you're afraid.
Fear, K? Nobody said anything about fear.
We're being realistic. I just think deciding to marry because you're afraid of being left behind is different from deciding to marry because you're truly ready. Fear doesn't make a good foundation. You understand when the pressure comes. Right now you're talking like someone who has never felt it.
The pressure will come, Amsi. It always comes. And it did. It arrived wearing the faces of aunties at church who paused a second too long on your ringless finger. It arrived in careful comparisons dropped like pepper into soup.
You know Ade's daughter, the one that graduated same time as you? She's already pregnant, oh. Husband is in Abuja, doing very well. They just bought land.
Pregnant already?
Yes, so.
It arrived in the voices of mothers who loved their daughters genuinely and were afraid for them sincerely, and could not separate that love from the particular fear this town had taught them since girlhood, that a woman unattached was a woman unfinished. Kamsi's own mother said it gently one evening when they were shelling egusi together on the veranda, not looking at her as though the words were meant for the bowl.
I'm not saying rush, my daughter. I'm just saying don't sleep. That's all I'm saying. Don't sleep.
I'm not sleeping, Mama.
Good. Because this life does not refund time.
Kamsi nodded and said nothing more. She cracked another seed between her fingers and let the silence sit between them without filling it. She found a small learning center 3 streets away that needed someone to teach English and basic literacy to young children in the evenings. It paid very little. She took it without hesitation. During the days, she read, she wrote. She thought carefully and without panic about what she actually wanted her life to look like when no one was watching and no one was measuring. Her friends were making different calculations. Chioma had already begun attending every Owambe and church social within 10-kilometer radius, dressed with deliberate intention, arriving early enough to be noticed and late enough to be remembered. Ada had started spending more time at her uncle's shop in the market, not out of interest in the business, but because the men who came in to buy building materials were often the kind of men who were building something, a house, a future, a life they were ready to share. Ifunaya had doubled her presence on social media, posting carefully arranged photographs from angles that made her family's modest sitting room look like something from a Lagos interior design account. She was casting a net, and she was casting it wide. And Kamsi watched all of it, not with judgment, not with pride, but with the quiet attention of someone who understood that the choices her friends were making were not made in selfishness alone, they were made in fear. And fear, she knew, was always loudest in a town that never stopped watching. Ugata was watching, and all 4 of them could feel it. Chioma was the first. Nobody was surprised. Chioma had always moved with intention. She decided things the way she filed her nails, with calm, deliberate strokes, until the edge was exactly where she wanted it. The man she found was called Emeka. He owned 2 filling stations in Owerri and drove a black Lexus that he washed himself every Saturday morning, which Chioma took as a sign of discipline. He was 15 years older than her, quiet in the way that men who have money often are, as though they have already said everything worth saying and are simply waiting for the world to catch up. They courted for 4 months. The introduction was loud and colorful. The wedding was louder.
I told you all. A woman should never struggle when a man can carry the weight. That's not laziness, that's wisdom. Chioma, you have done well, though. You have done very well. Be happy, Chioma. I mean it.
She bought the asoebi in burgundy and gold. She danced at the reception until her feet ached. She stood in every photograph with her whole chest, her smile reaching her eyes because she genuinely wished her friend well, even if she did not share her reasons. When the last song played and the last guests spilled out into the warm night air, Kamsi drove home alone, the music still faint behind her, and sat for a while in the dark of her small room before turning on the light. Ada was next, 5 months later. Her husband's name was Tobena, a civil servant who wore iron shirts and came home at the same time every evening. He was not exciting. Ada had never asked for exciting. She had asked specifically and without apology for calm, for a man who would not raise his voice, for a home where the air did not feel like it was waiting to catch fire. Tobena offered all of this. His mother was traditional and his family was old-fashioned, but Ada had decided that old-fashioned was not the same as bad, that there was in fact a kind of safety in knowing exactly what you are walking into.
I know what people think. They think I settled. But I have peace, Kamsi. Even now, before the wedding, I already have peace.
I do, my friend, and I'm so happy for you.
Congratulations, Ada. I mean that too. Thank you so much. It means a lot.
Ada's wedding was quieter than Chioma's, but no less beautiful. Ivory lace, a church ceremony that made 3 women cry, and a reception where Tobena's family served the best ofiakun I had ever tasted. I ate 2 plates and danced with Ada's younger cousins and tried not to think too hard about anything. On the drive home, Ifunaya called her. 2 down, 2 to go. Kamsi, our turn is coming, oh. Go and sleep, Ifunaya. I'm serious. Don't let them leave us behind. Good night. She hung up and drove the rest of the way in silence. Ifunaya did not take long. She met Desmond at a mutual friend's birthday party in Enugu, a party she had dressed for with the focused energy of someone on a mission, which she was. Desmond was everything she had described in her vision. Tall, well-traveled, free with money in the particular way that made people around him feel special simply by proximity. He bought tables. He tipped generously. He noticed Ifunaya within 20 minutes of her arrival and did not stop noticing her for the rest of the evening. Their relationship moved like a song played at high speed, intense, dazzling, slightly breathless.
Look at where he took me for my birthday. Look at this room. Look at this view. This is the life I was telling you people about.
Ifunaya, you deserve it. Enjoy yourself.
He seems generous. Just make sure you also know him when the trips are over.
Kamsi, must you always find something careful to say? Relax. Not everything needs deep analysis. I'm just being thoughtful. Overthinking.
And time is exactly what I don't have to waste. Some of us cannot afford your kind of patience. The room shifted slightly. Chioma looked away. Ada adjusted her wrapper. Kamsi nodded once and let it go. 6 months later, Ifunaya's wedding was the grandest of the 3. A 2-day affair with a live band, a Lagos-based event planner, and a dress that had been talked about on 3 different WhatsApp groups before the day even arrived. It was the kind of wedding that made people reach for their phones before they reached for their emotions. Kamsi wore her ashwebi, she danced, she smiled in every photograph. And when the night ended and the lights came down and the generators were switched off one by one, she walked to her car in the sudden quiet and sat behind the wheel without starting the engine. 3 weddings, 3 friends, 3 doors closed on lives she had not chosen. She was not sad, exactly. She was something more complicated than sad, a feeling that had no clean name in English, but that her grandmother might have described in Igbo as the particular ache of standing still while everything around you moves. She started the engine. She drove home. And somewhere in the dark town of Ugota, a man was already being prepared for her, chosen by the very friends who believed with complete sincerity that they were doing her a kindness. Walls know everything. They absorb what people perform for the outside world and hold what is left when the performance ends. They hear the conversations that happen after midnight, the silences that stretch too long over dinner, the sound of a door closed with just slightly too much force. They know the difference between a home and a house, between a marriage and an arrangement, between 2 people who chose each other and 2 people who chose what the other represented. The walls of 3 different homes in and around Oguta had been listening, and what they heard was not what the weddings had promised. In Emeka's house in Owerri, Chioma had found provision. She had not been wrong about that. The fridges were full.
The generator ran all night. The wardrobe he gave her was larger than her childhood bedroom, and every week, without asking, money appeared in the account he had opened in her name. But Emeka himself was largely absent, not in body but in presence. He came home, he ate, he watched the news, he slept. On weekends, he visited his mother, a formidable woman who had not entirely accepted that her son's home now had another woman at its center. He did not shout, he did not mistreat. He simply occupied space the way furniture did, present, solid, and providing no warmth.
He's not a bad man. I want to make that clear. But Ada, I don't think this man sees me. I mean, really sees me. I am in this house every day, and some evenings I feel like I am invisible.
Have you talked to him?
I am in this house every day, and some evenings I feel like I am invisible. I tried. He said I should not complain when I have everything I need. That plenty women would be grateful.
Yes. She had provision, she had comfort, she had a beautiful, quiet, empty life, and the particular loneliness of a woman who got exactly what she asked for and discovered it was not quite enough. Ada's peace had a texture she had not anticipated. Tomena was not cruel. He was consistent. The same iron shirts, the same time home each evening, the same reserved expression across the dinner table. He did not raise his voice. He also did not raise much else. Conversations were short and functional. Laughter was rare, not because anything was wrong, but because nothing was particularly alive. The house ran smoothly, the way a well-maintained clock runs, on time, without feeling. What Ada had not calculated was that peace without warmth was simply another word for stillness. And stillness, she was learning, could press against the chest in its own quiet way. Then came his family.
Ada, this is how you cook his soup. Tobena likes his ofe onugbu with more cocoyam. And the kitchen, I hope you clean here properly every day.
Good afternoon, Mama. I'll take note.
It has been 8 months. People are asking questions. You know what questions I mean.
Ada's smile did not move. She had practiced that smile until it sat on her face as natural as breathing. Later that night, she called Kamsi.
I'm fine. I just called to hear your voice.
Are you sure you're fine?
The peace I have is real, Kamsi. I just didn't know peace could also be lonely. Please don't say anything wise right now. Just talk to me about something else. Anything else.
So Kamsi talked about the lesson center, about a funny thing one of her pupils said that morning, about the small garden she was trying to grow behind her mother's house. She talked until she heard Ada's breathing slow and soften, and she stayed on the line a little longer than necessary, just in case. Ifunaya's rife shone the brightest on the outside and ached the deepest within. Desmond was generous the way certain weather is generous, dramatic, all-encompassing, and entirely unpredictable. When he was present, the room filled with him. When he was not present, nobody knew exactly where he was or when he would return. His phone was always face down. His explanations were always smooth and slightly too complete, the way lies are when someone had practiced making them comfortable.
I found a message on his phone. He said it was his cousin. I don't believe him.
What did he say when you asked him directly?
He laughed, said I was insecure, said I should be grateful instead of suspicious. Don't say it. I know what you're thinking, and don't say it. I just wanted the life, Kamsi. I just wanted the fine life. I didn't think it would come with all this. The Instagram posts. People are commenting, saying they want my life. And I'm sitting in this bedroom by myself at 10 o'clock, not knowing where my husband is.
She laughed then. A short, broken sound that was nothing like her usual laughter. Kamsi stayed on the phone with her too. Meanwhile, Kamsi was building, slowly, without announcement, without a single post on social media to mark her progress. The lesson center had grown. Word spread quietly through Okafor Street and beyond that the Kamsi girl was serious, that she explained things in ways children actually understood, that she cared. Parents began bringing their children from 2, then 3 streets away. She hired one assistant, she negotiated a better space, she opened a small reading corner with second-hand books she had collected and covered with brown paper and tape. It was not an empire, it was not Instagram-worthy, but it was hers, entirely, completely, without condition. She was also at peace in the way she had understood peace to mean, not the absence of difficulty, but the presence of her own steady self within the difficulty. Then the man arrived. His name was Obinna. He was brought into her orbit deliberately, a coordinated effort between Chioma, Ada, and Ifunanya, who, despite their private struggles, still believed, collectively, that Kamsi's aloneness was a problem requiring a solution. He was 41, successful, ready, and he arrived at a family gathering Kamsi had been mildly tricked into attending, standing across the room with the quiet confidence of a man who had already been told she would be there. They were introduced. They spoke. He was intelligent and unhurried, and did not perform when men often did when they were trying to impress.
They tell me you run a learning center.
Yes, I do. We teach children and adults.
That's wonderful. We are very proud.
Thank you. It means a lot.
Why are you in a hurry to marry? He blinked, then smiled, a real one. Who said I was in a hurry? They said you are ready. In this town, ready usually means hurry. I want to build something real, with someone real. I'm not in a hurry, but I'm not pretending I'm not looking either. She nodded. They talked for another hour. When the evening ended, he said simply, "The offer stands, whenever you are ready." And for the first time since she had returned to Uguta, Kamsi felt something shift inside her. Not urgency, not fear, but something quieter and more dangerous. Hope. She went home and sat with it carefully, the way you sit with something you are not yet sure you trust.
Time in Uguta moved the way it always had, without permission and without apology. 3 years passed, and in those 3 years, the town that had watched 4 girls come home with degrees and dreams watched something else unfold quietly. The slow, patient work of consequence. Because Uguta always watched, and Uguta never forgot. Chioma left Emeka Olive Thursday. Not dramatically, not with shouting or thrown plates. She packed 2 bags while he was at the filling station, called a driver she trusted, and returned to her mother's house on Okafo Street, with the dignity of a woman who had made her decision long before she acted on it.
I thought provision was enough. I built my whole plan around provision. And it was there every single day. But Kamsi, a woman cannot live on provision alone.
You're not a failure, Chioma. I feel like one. You made a decision with what you knew at the time. Now you know more. That's not failure. That's just living. I called you slow. I said that to your face and laughed about it behind your back. I need you to know that I know that. I know you know. I'm sorry. I know that too. She made Chioma tea. She sat with her until the evening came and Okafo Street grew loud with children and motorbikes and Mama Eze arguing with a customer. She did not remind her of a single thing she had once said. She simply stayed, because staying was what Chioma needed, and Kamsi had always been good at staying. Ada's unraveling was slower and less visible. Tobina had not changed. That ultimately was the problem. He was the same ironed shirts, the same silence across dinner, the same man who provided stability and withheld himself simultaneously. Ada had spent 2 years convincing herself that stability was the same as love until one morning she woke up and could not continue the argument. She called Kamsi on a Sunday afternoon. I think I made peace with the wrong things. What do you mean? I wanted peace so badly that I made peace with things I should have questioned. His silence, his mother, the way he never once asks how I am and means it. 3 years, Kamsi, not once. What do you need right now? I need to start being honest about what this is. That's a good place to start. You never made us feel stupid. Even when we were pushing you and laughing, you never once threw it back at us. You weren't stupid. You were afraid. We were all afraid of something. What were you afraid of? Being wrong, being alone, being the last one standing with nothing to show for the waiting. But you waited anyway. I waited anyway.
Ifunanya's truth arrived the loudest, the way Ifunanya herself had always arrived. Desmond had not been faithful.
This was confirmed not once but repeatedly across 18 months by evidence she could no longer explain away. The last incident involved a woman who called the house phone, an act so brazen that Ifunanya almost respected the audacity of it. She left within a week. The apartment, the trips, the carefully curated life. She left all of it and moved into her sister's flat with 2 suitcases and the quiet devastation of someone who had paid an extremely high price for a lesson she could not return. She called Kamsi at 2 in the morning.
I know it's late. I just needed to hear your voice. You always sound like everything is going to be okay. Everything is going to be okay.
I was so mean to you, Kamsi. I called you slow. I said you didn't understand life. I said time was passing you by. Ifunanya, no, let me say it. I looked down on you. And now look at me, 2 in the morning, crying in my sister's spare room. And I'm on the phone with you. That's all that matters right now. Why are you not angry with us? Because anger would mean spending energy on the past, and I have a future I'm still building. You and Obina, among other things. Obina had proposed in her lesson center after the last child had gone home, sitting on a small plastic chair that was too short for him, with a ring chosen specifically for her taste, not for show.
I know who you are, Kamsi, not who I want you to be, who you actually are. And I would like to build a life with that person, if she'll have me.
She will.
Their wedding was quiet and deliberate and entirely theirs. No competition with anyone's vision, no performance for Uguta, just 2 people who had chosen each other with open eyes and enough time to be sure. The morning after, when the house was still and pale Hamatan light came through the curtains, Kamsi lay awake thinking about her 3 friends, where they were, what they were rebuilding, how bravely they were beginning again. She did not feel superior. She did not feel vindicated. She felt something quieter and more sustaining than either, the deep, settled satisfaction of a woman who had trusted herself when trusting herself was the harder choice and had arrived without rushing exactly where she was meant to be. Outside, Uguta was already awake, already watching, already forming opinions. But for the first time in a long time, Kamsi did not feel the weight of its gaze. She had nothing left to prove. And that, she understood now, was what freedom actually felt like.